Hey, welcome. If you've ever felt like your emotions were running the show, whether it's stress from work, school, or just life, well, this explainer is for you. Today, we are opening up a powerful, practical toolkit designed to help you get back in the driver's seat of your own mind. But first, I want to start with a kind of provocative question. I want you to think for a second about the things you call problems. The big, stressful stuff in your life. Are they really the problem? Because what if they're not? What if the real issue isn't the situation itself, but our emotional reaction to it? Think about it. That fight you had with a friend. Was the fight the problem, or was it the uncontrolled anger that took over? That big exam on the horizon? Is the test the problem, or is it the paralyzing fear about failing it? See, when we don't get a handle on these reactions, it's like we become puppets. Fear, anger, jealousy, they become the puppeteers, pulling our strings and making us dance. But here's the good news. Today, we're going to talk about how to find the scissors and cut those strings for good. All right, let's get right into it with our very first tool. It's called cognitive restructuring. This is your proactive weapon. It's all about changing how you feel by changing how you think, before that emotion even has a chance to grab hold. So what is this exactly? Well, it's a powerhouse technique, straight out of therapies like CBT, and it's designed to help you catch those negative, spiraling thoughts in their tracks, challenge them, and basically break that vicious cycle of emotional distress before it even starts. And it works in 4 pretty straightforward steps. So let's make this real. Imagine you've got a huge presentation coming up. Step 1 is just catching that negative thought as it flies by. You know the one, I'm going to totally bomb this and everyone will think I'm an idiot. Okay, boom, you've identified it. Now for step 2, you've got to challenge that thought. This is where you switch from being a victim of your feelings to being a detective for the facts. Instead of just accepting that doom and gloom prediction, you ask it questions. Wait a minute, what's the actual evidence for that? Have people really laughed at me before? Or have my presentations actually gone pretty okay in the past? And that leads us right into the crucial 3rd step, reframe it. Now, you're not trying to lie to yourself and say, I'm not nervous at all. No, you acknowledge the feeling. You say, okay, I'm nervous, but I've prepared for this. And you know what? Even if I do make a small mistake, it's not the end of the world. It's a chance to learn. See the difference? And of course, the final step, maybe the most important, is to practice. This isn't a magic pill. It's a mental muscle you build over time. Okay, on to our second tool. So if reframing is what you do before the emotional storm hits, this next one is your go-to tool for when you're already in the middle of it. It's all about getting a handle on your feelings by giving them a name. The core of this technique is almost ridiculously simple, but it is so powerful. When you feel that wave of emotion washing over you, that anger, that sadness, that envy, you just take a mental step back and you name it. You're scrolling through social media, you see a friend's big promotion, and you feel that familiar, ugly pang in your gut. Instead of letting it spin out of control, you just say to yourself, okay, this feeling, this is just jealousy. So here's how you can put it into practice. Imagine your boss criticizes your work in a meeting. Step 1 is just awareness. You feel your face get hot, your fists clench. Okay, that's anger. Step 2, validate it. It's totally okay to feel angry right now. Step 3, a little reflection. Why did that make me so mad? Maybe it's because you pulled an all-nighter on that project. And finally, step 4. You get to choose a constructive response. Instead of lashing out, you decide, I'm going to ask for some detailed feedback later when I've cooled off. So what's actually happening in your brain when you do this? It's pretty cool, actually. When you feel a strong emotion, your amygdala, let's call it the reactor, is sounding all the alarms. It's your brain's fight-or-flight center. But the simple act of naming that emotion fires up your prefrontal cortex, the thinker. That's the logical, rational CEO of your brain. And when the thinker comes online, it actually helps to calm down the reactor, turning down the volume on that emotional response. All right, for our 3rd and final tool, we're bringing out the heavy artillery. This one is for tackling those really specific, deep-seated fears. We're talking phobias, like a fear of flying, spiders, or public speaking. The method is called exposure therapy, and it's all about systematically and safely facing the things that scare you most. The whole idea behind it is something called desensitization. Think of it like getting into a cold swimming pool. You don't just cannonball in, right? You ease into it. The goal is to slowly, gradually, and in a totally controlled way, teach your brain that the thing it's terrified of isn't actually going to harm you.
Now, the key here, and I mean the key, is that you don't just jump into the deep end. Instead, you build what's called a fear ladder or a fear hierarchy, just like this one for public speaking. You figure out what your ultimate fear is, speaking to a huge crowd, and then you work backward, breaking it down into smaller, much less scary steps. You start at the bottom rung with something that only gives you a tiny bit of anxiety.
So what does this look like in practice? Let's say you're terrified of heights. Well, on day one, you're not going to the top of a skyscraper. No way. You start small. Maybe you just look out a second-story window until the anxiety starts to fade. Then, over days and weeks, you slowly climb that ladder. A few weeks later, you might stand on a balcony a few floors up. You do it repeatedly until your brain learns a new lesson. Hey, I'm actually safe. You are literally rewiring your brain's fear response. So, let's pull all these threads together. We've talked about a tool for your thoughts, a tool for your feelings, and a tool for your deepest fears. How do all of these help us go from being the puppet to finally becoming the puppeteer? Well, it all boils down to this fundamental choice. The puppet just reacts. It's impulsive, driven by every emotional whim. But the puppeteer uses these tools. They observe their thoughts and feelings from a distance. They choose how to respond with intention. They are the ones holding the strings.
So remember, what feel like huge, insurmountable problems are often just our uncontrolled emotional responses. But you can manage them. You can reframe your negative thoughts, you can label your feelings to take away their power, and you can gradually face your fears to overcome them. The biggest takeaway of all is this: you always, always have the power to choose your response.
You now have a real practical toolkit to start mastering your emotional world. So the only question left to ask is, which one are you going to be? The puppet or the puppeteer?